Look at the Department of Justice over the past few years. Under Attorney General Pam Bondi, the DOJ has bent to the will of the White House to a degree rarely seen in modern history. At the president's directive, she fired civil servants. She actively investigated the administration's perceived enemies and systematically pulled back on enforcement measures that Trump allies disliked. Yet, despite delivering on those specific demands, President Trump has recently informed her that she is losing her job. If the departure moves forward, Bondi becomes the second cabinet member ousted in short order, closely following former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's exit in early March. This leaves us with a rather obvious question. If an attorney general executes the administration's political directives so thoroughly, why are they being pushed out the door? Her exit exposes the gap between political intent and administrative execution. Bondi proved her loyalty, but that loyalty fractured when it slammed into the unyielding guardrails of the American legal system. From the White House's perspective, the issue comes down to results. President Trump has grown deeply frustrated that Bondi has not successfully prosecuted individuals he views as political opponents. He has been particularly vocal about his desire to see criminal charges brought against high-profile critics, specifically targeting New York's Letitia James and various Democratic lawmakers. But Bondi didn't ignore these requests. Her Justice Department tried to build these cases. They simply failed to get them through the courts. When the administration attempted charging these critics, independent grand juries repeatedly looked at the DOJ's requests and rejected them. Federal judges blocked other attempts to construct legal cases, pointing out a critical flaw. They entirely lacked the evidence required to move forward. While the Justice Department has the authority to launch an investigation, it cannot manufacture evidence out of thin air. For purely political prosecutions, the courts prove to be an impassable barrier. The second major crisis that derailed Bondi's tenure was her handling of the investigative files tied to convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Facing mounting public pressure and a swirl of conspiracy theories, Bondi initially promised to release an Epstein client list. The problem was that she eventually had to issue a formal statement pouring cold water on those exact theories, admitting to the public that no such client list actually existed. Rather than satisfying the public, this admission backfired entirely. It stoked the long-simmering conspiracy theories even further and drew massive political outrage. The fallout quickly moved from public anger to formal congressional scrutiny. The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed her over the department's handling of the files, and she refused to answer questions during a very contentious House Judiciary hearing in February. Bondi made an impossible political promise to appease a demanding base, but the objective facts on the ground simply couldn't back it up. Bondi's impending removal sends a clear message to the rest of the administration. Willingness to politicize a department is merely the baseline expectation, not the ultimate goal. 3 sources say the White House is already looking for her replacement, with Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin currently sitting on the shortlist. Whoever takes the position next will face a newly elevated standard. They must deliver the promised political results, regardless of whether legal or factual hurdles stand firmly in their way. This creates a demand for institutional bypass. Future appointees must actively find ways to circumvent the very guardrails that trapped Bondi. If the next Attorney General successfully learns to bypass independent grand juries and strict evidentiary requirements, the basic mechanics of the federal justice system will operate entirely differently. The next Attorney General faces a mandate to dismantle the very institutional walls that ended Pam Bondi's career.